From time to time at the Yarn Barn, we get questions about heddles, about what different types of heddles there are and why you might want one versus another. So let's go through the different types and you can see what's available. So they break down basically into two types, metal and polyester. So we'll talk about metal first. This first one is what's called a flat steel heddle, and for years this was the standard. This one isn't available anymore, so there are still many, many looms that are out there that have them, and they still work great as long as they're not rusty. So if you've got this one, there's no reason to replace it, but you may need to find some other heddle that will work with it. But so this first one is kind of a thin metal band with an eye that is split out of that band. And it's got a little bit of a flange at the top and the bottom, and that's called a flat steel heddle. The new standard is what's called an inserted eye heddle, and it's got a wire shaft, an oval eye in the middle, and then a wire loop at the top and the bottom for the heddle bar. And so this now is probably the most common metal heddle that you'll see. The third metal heddle is called a wire heddle, and its shaft is made of wire, but its eye is also made of wire, and it's a little bit narrower than the inserted eye heddle, and this is the lightest weight heddle. Now the fourth heddle is the polyester heddle, and it's from a company called Texsolve, and it's a manufactured heddle. And while it comes in different lengths, they're all made the same way. So there's a knot, there's this little ladder section that has the eye, and then a knot. They come as a continuous string, so you do have to cut them apart. But that's a Texsolve polyester heddle. Now, why would you want one versus the other? Maybe the first reason is because the length you need has to be available. So the metal heddles that we get from Schacht or Leclerc or Harrisville come in specific sizes. So 9.5 inch, 10.5 inch, or 12.5 inch are available in inserted eye. Now those same lengths are available in the wire heddle, and the wire heddle is made by Leclerc, but 9.5, 10.5, and 12.5 are available. Now, why would you pick a wire heddle? The wire heddle is by far the lightest weight, and that means when you're lifting a lot of heddles, you're not having to lift a lot of weight, so that's good. It's also budget friendly. This is the least expensive heddle that's out there. But I would say that this is the hardest one to see. So when you're threading, if you find it challenging to focus on a heddle eye, this one is going to be the hardest one for you. The inserted eye heddle, which is the one that is the most commonly used, is a heavier heddle than the wire heddle. And for some looms, they actually need that weight. So for example, Schacht's Baby Wolf loom benefits from the weight that comes from this heddle. So when you open the shed, the weight of this heddle in accumulation, all of the heddles that are on the harnesses, help keep the harnesses from floating up. So while you could fit a different style of heddle on a Schacht Baby Wolf, this is the one they recommend because this weight helps keep the shed clean. The flat steel heddle, unfortunately, not available anymore. If you did want to find some of these to add to what you already have on your loom, you could try finding them on the internet. You would just want to make sure that they weren't rusty or corroded. The polyester heddle has the most size options. We carry them all the way down from a little bit under 6 inches to all the way up to 15.5 inches. So there are a lot of different increments in the polyester heddles. These are by far the most gentle on your warp because the warp thread isn't rubbing against anything metal, it's just this soft string. It's also the quietest. When you're lifting and lowering the harnesses, the metal heddles can give you a little bit of a jangle sound. These are very quiet. But as I mentioned before with the shacked baby wolf, they are the lightest weight, so they don't give you any benefit related to the weight. All of these come in bundles of 100, with the exception of the inserted eye from Harrisville, which come in bundles of 200. And there's one size of the textile heddles that come in 50s, but for the most part, bundles of 100. Now, how do you measure your heddle? That's a question we get all the time. So let me show you. The easiest way to measure a heddle is to do it off of the loom. And that allows you to have better access to it, and you can just lay it flat against some sort of ruler or measurer. So let's just look at each of these. So the first one, the inserted eye heddle, line it up so that this wire end is at 0, and you can see that this one is 9.5 inches. So you're measuring basically from tip to tip. With the wire heddle, you're going to do the same thing. So you put it here at 0, and this one's 12.5. Now with the flat steel, it's a little bit tricky because you don't want to measure from the outer tip. You're really only measuring the usable part. So line it up so the top of the hole is at 0, and measure to the bottom of, or the end of this hole. So this one is 9.5 inches. The hardest one to measure on the loom is the textile heddle. So that's that one for sure you should take off to measure because the thickness of the material can make it look shorter than it actually is, the thickness of the heddle bar material. So take this one and look for the knot at the beginning and the end. Line the knot up at 0, and the other knot, you can see this one is 8 inches. So that's all there is to measuring your heddles.